the other one.
The other one
You can
is
put
the
it up on
figures
background.
of our social media.
Is it a video? Is it?
No, no,
it's
just
Just the stats,
yeah.
Okay.
Just look at it.
Yeah, no problem. I can. So there's some stats on here, guys. Obviously, you can see. What you can see from there is fine, but I'll also get some canvas because it's probably quite detailed. So what I'll do is canvas is what they can interact.
Yeah.
If you can send that over to me,
Yeah.
I'll post that with the slides from previous weeks, so you can be able to go into that and have a look. Is that okay? Cheers, guys.
The final thing I just want to say is obviously we do what we can to promote the sport with rider appearances. The problem that I have once the season starts is that my team is very cosmopolitan, and not only do they race for Wolverhampton, they're not restricted to one club. So they will be racing in Sweden on a Tuesday, very often in Denmark on a Wednesday, and very often in Poland on a Sunday. The very same riders, you know, and their life. They have a crew in each country. They get some machines ready. They literally spend, that's 8 months in airplanes. So they're going all over Europe racing. But in the close season, we do what we can, but obviously the public appearances are difficult once the season because the riders are not around. But last week we were in schools because it was Careers Week. There's a lot of local schools in the West Midlands, and we did appearances at schools, took the rider around and spoke to the youngsters of what a career as a Speedway rider was like. So we do what we can in that area, but it's very restricted once the season starts because the riders are here, there, everywhere. They earn what they can because it can be a very short career, but so we can't restrict them to just racing in this country, unfortunately. So I basically I think I've covered everything that I need to talk about at this moment.
Yeah, that was
So,
really useful.
you know.
So I know you won't be able to see everything on here, but I can see on this screen. It's really useful, this information on here. So this infographic, I'll get onto Canvas, you'll be able to see it in far more detail and give you a starting point, especially week 7 when we look at digital marketing in a little bit more detail, and the week after on branding and sponsorships and those things. This is going to be really useful as your starting point, and then making those recommendations and where you think things can go. So, all you guys in here are prepped already, so you're not going to have to bring questions in off the cuff because we've spent a bit of time doing this. So, it's over to you guys. Questions. So, if you put your hand up, we'll go from there. Hakeem, first question.
You just mentioned that your riders are racing in various countries, so how do you see Brexit having an impact on their travelling?
Who knows kind of what's going to happen? I don't think there's going to be any immediate impact. Is that I don't think that will be allowed to happen. Long term, it could be a problem. But when I first got into it, the work permit, the visa situation involves Swedes, and Swedish riders have always been a big part. My #1 rider is from Sweden. So in those days, we had to get work visas and everything for Swedish riders. Now, it's the Australians and the Americans. I've just signed a young American, and to get his visa through the Home Office, the cost is about £4,800. That's what we've had to pay just for his visa for 3 years. And we've just finally sorted that. He gets on the plane Sunday afternoon, and he'll be landing at Heathrow Monday 4 o'clock. And he's 19-year-old American, and he's probably supposed to be the next big prospect. And a world champion, former world champion Greg Hancock, who's probably the most successful American rider ever, is his protege, and he's recommended that he joins Wolverhampton. So they have these problems, but once they've got these visas and everything, then they travel freely from country to country. But the initial step of getting permission for them to come to the UK is probably the hardest. And if we go back to Brexit, if that happens, that they have to get visas to go everywhere, at least I have a close season from November to February where all this kind of paperwork can be organised. So hopefully it won't cause any short-term effects. In the long term, I think we can cope with.
So you're probably like most companies at the moment, you're waiting to see what's going to happen.
I don't think there's anything immediate. They can't be, can they? They're not silly enough to, on the 30th of March, we can't go out of the country.
Yeah, the other side of March, you might be into April, you might be looking at it differently. You might be saying, right, we need to put some things in place.
I mean, the worst thing, I'm not political, but the worst thing for everybody would be no deal with it.
Yes.
The world would then just stop.
And political body. Absolutely. Anyone else got a question? Next person?
Is there a female crew?
There is at the moment. There's a team in Birmingham, and they have a female rider in the junior team. There's never been one that's a female that's established herself in the main teams. There have over the years been female riders that have established themselves in the junior teams, never progressed. There are very successful female motocross riders and road bike riders. So I don't understand why it's never transferred to Speedway. I can't explain why that is, but no, the opportunity's there. It's not restricted, and if you go along to Birmingham on a Wednesday this coming year, there is a female in the second half junior team.
What's the age limit like for
The age limit to ride professionally.
to start like riding?
To start, you can. The UK training scheme is from the age of about 8. To race in the 3rd division, which is the junior level, you have to be 15 to race competitively. To race at the level I'm racing, you have to be 16. So but you can start training from 8, and there are competitions. We will stage a competition at Wolverhampton this year, which is from age 8, 9 upwards. They have smaller CC engines, but they start to learn. Now, I don't know, sometimes I don't know whether that's a good thing, if I'm being honest, State, because I don't know whether a child of 8 knows his mind that fully, whether he wants to be. And sometimes a child of 8, it's the parents putting them through it because they wanted to be a speedway racer. I sometimes think. So by the time they get to 13 or 14, they're fed up of it, you know. So I think 8 is a little bit young, but it does happen.
What do I have to prepare? How you preparing for competition? Asking, is the sport expensive? What do you have to compete or to send your riders to World Championship?
It's at the top level. It is relatively expensive. Yes, it is. The problem that we have is that you saw Ty Wolfenden on there. He's not racing at Wolverhampton at the moment because his calendar is too busy. But he started with Wolverhampton. We signed him as a 16-year-old. He's 27 now. In that time, he's been world champion 3 times. Right? And the problem that you have with our sport, as on a league basis, is that he can race in a world championship final on a Saturday night at the highest level with we race at the Millennium Stadium, Cardiff, in front of 60,000 people. He can turn up to Wolverhampton for the league meeting on Monday with exactly the same machinery. So the lower level riders in the team are then at a disadvantage. And there is a school of thought that there should be 2 levels. There should be some control to reduce the cost on the league racing expenditure, because it seems highly fair that you can win a world championship and then turn up in a domestic league event on the same machine. So at the moment there's no restriction on that, but there is a varying level throughout the team of how much they can afford to spend on their machinery. It's not the basic machine. The basic machine is economical. It's not expensive at all, but it's what they do to the engine and the tune parts of that machine that puts the expense through the roof.
And in the same line you mentioned about the investment and money needed involved. Have you got a main source of funding, and if yes, do you think that may change positively, negatively in the near